this devlog, I'll be showcasing my Dragon controller I've developed for my character action game, Advent Act. First though, let's take a look at some other games where you control a dragon to get some inspiration. Being the main inspiration for the project, the first game we're going to look at is Drakengard. Drakengard actually contains two different types of dragon controllers. The first can be found in ground missions. In these missions, the player can control Kaim's red dragon Angelus and fight from the sky, or they can dismount and play as Kaim fighting on the ground. Kaim can call upon the dragon at any time, as long as there's enough room for her overhead. When controlling the dragon in these kinds of missions, the dragon is constantly moving forward while you steer left or right. What you can't do is change the dragon's altitude. I won't be going over the attack options too deeply now, as I'll be developing the combat mechanics at a later date, but simply put, the dragon can shoot fireballs at enemies down below, and once enough mana is built up, she can unleash a massive attack that does damage to a wide area below. The second type of controller can be found in aerial missions. In these missions, the dragon is also always moving forward, but now we can control the dragon in a 3D space, being able to go up and down. Attacking in these types of missions works a little differently and can feel quite clunky at times. I don't particularly enjoy how the dragon controls here, but there's a few elements which will inspire my controller. The next game I want to take a look at is Panzer Dragoon Saga for the Sega Saturn. Although we're all about the PS1 look here on this channel, the checkerboard dithering is mwah. In Panzer Dragoon, we can move the dragon forward and back, left and right, but also keep it stationary. Combat is quite different here, as the game is an RPG. The battles are a mix of real-time and turn-based elements. Both of these games have inspired my Dragon controller. I believe that my tech feels intuitive and has a more modern sensibility to it. The camera is identical to that used for the player, only with different input parameters. The dragon rotates with the camera on the Y-axis. The X and Z rotation are set to rotate towards a far-off target that is a child of the camera. I think it's clear to see how the combat will work when we get around to doing that. The right bumper raises the dragon's altitude, while the left bumper lowers it. There's a minimum distance from the ground that the dragon can be that is determined by a raycast. I thought about applying the same logic for the maximum height the dragon can achieve, but then I thought about a problem that would occur by going with this method. Let's say the dragon is hovering over the ground, and the max altitude is 25 meters. That's 25 meters calculated from the origin of the dragon down to the first object the raycast hits, which is the ground. Now, if we hover over the wooden crate, the dragon can go higher as the distance from the dragon's origin to the top of the crate is less than 25 meters. I want a consistent max altitude, so instead of calculating it, I set the max Y value the dragon can achieve in the whole level. Holding both the left and right bumper will lock the dragon's altitude, which will prove useful for battle. I created two versions of the aiming reticle. The first I liked when I was designing it in iSprite, but when I brought it into the game, I felt it was too round and chunky looking. I prefer the squarer look of my second version, so that's the one I'm sticking with. When holding the B button, the dragon will dash, but only if it's moving forward. The last thing I did was add some screen shake to the camera. This makes the dragon feel like a staggering force of nature. The beat of its wings shake everything around it, including the camera. I also made it so the shake increases while dashing forward, further conveying the sense of speed the beast is achieving. I liked how this turned out, so I added some shakes to the camera when the player is running too. That's all for now. I'll tackle the combat at another time. I also want to create the mechanic for switching between the player character and the dragon, where the dragon appears above the character's head before he jumps on, but that will have to wait also. This video took longer to make than usual. I decided to finally break away from the greedy paws of Adobe and change my video and photo editing software. After some research, I decided to jump to DaVinci Resolve for my video editing and use Affinity Photo for my photo editing needs. Affinity is basically a clone of Photoshop, so it didn't take long getting the hang of it. DaVinci on the other hand took some getting used to. After completing a Udemy course, I can now do some amazing editing like this. Although DaVinci Resolve has a steeper learning curve than Premiere Pro, I think it's a better piece of software overall, and it's free. I'm not sure when the next devlog will be released, but rest assured, I'll be working on the project with any free time I have. If what you're seeing interests you, then please consider subscribing. I have a lot of ideas for this project and we're only getting started.